So this is a video that recently came out from a channel named Beatemups. The link to their video is down below, as it's not mine, so I'm not going to claim it's mine. It really is just talking about the prices of Nintendo's games and their machines recently, which is something we all know about way before the Switch 2's launch. So this kind of video, I guess, would be a little bit late now, as for example, if the launch was successful and the pricing was successful, that means that everything from now on is going to follow that same pattern, which is just simple cause and effect, honestly. So I'm going to react to it just because I also want to be a voice in the gaming community who is affected by this moving forward and has an opinion to share. So let's get to it.
Everything is too expensive, and I feel like that goes for life right now, but even more so with Nintendo, who are making decisions that I can't justify, I can't defend, and I honestly can't rationally understand. And it's difficult because at the end of the day, I'm a Nintendo advocate on this channel. You know, I'm passionate about Nintendo. I grew up with Nintendo, and all of that nostalgia and all of that love and all the appreciation for the games themselves don't just go away overnight because amiibos are $50 now. Like, it's
Yeah, this is a main thing that Nintendo is latching onto. That's definitely nostalgia. And even back in the days, like for me, I'm kind of an OG, so I was playing games in the 90s as well as the 80s as well. And man, like collectors would spend so much money on rare things, on like unique things that came out in Tokyo only or in Japan only. And yeah, these things are creeping up in price, but the main thing is that people are buying them. So it's not that like misunderstandable, in my opinion.
a lot more multifaceted than that for me. But when something doesn't sit right with me and a lot of you, I talk about it. And there's a lot of things, but shockingly, there's a lot of things from that direct specifically. But I'm gonna start with the Mario Galaxy situation. Because while watching the direct, I had no idea they were going to charge $70 for the double pack.
Now, I want to stop here. Really? Like, you had no idea they're going to charge $70, like, based on what? Like, even the, like, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC came in 3 parts, so you had to pay for those separately, as well as even, like, Sword and Shield and most DLCs, so you're basically paying for a full game that's just chopped up. And for this kind of thing, they've just announced Mario Galaxy movie, and then they've brought these games out, and they're justifying like $70, $80 for the games. Everyone's like bought the Switch 2 already, kind of validated that price. So, well, they're just going to keep doing it. And they updated their services on System 1 as well, Switch 1 as well, so that it also uses game key cards. Yeah, what can I say?
I'm gonna say that again because really, out of everything I'm talking about today, this has to be the worst one. $70. I might remind you, I might reprise you. I might remind you that new games now, we have like this price hike from 60 up to 70, right? These like Donkey Kong DK Bonanza, this awesome game that we all justified being 70 because it's incredible. It's a brand new experience, right? That's the price of a brand new game now. It's also apparently the price of 2 old games being straight ported over with nothing being done to them. And don't tell me there's a couple extra pages in a book somewhere because I don't care. This is bananas. And to make it even worse, you can buy these games individually if you're like, oh, 70. Well, I only really want to play Galaxy 2. Well, that's 40. Because priced individually, they're 40.
It's crazy to me how people who have already bought the Switch 2, right, on launch, by the way, this guy lined up to buy the Switch 2 on launch, is really surprised by these prices. It's like, by doing so, you've already accepted that these prices are okay, that you're willing to spend the money. and Switch 2 right now is like pretty much sold out everywhere. So everyone's validated this kind of price tag already, and so this kind of thing coming up, I don't understand how it's surprising. Yeah, it's really high and horrible and should never be like that, but it's surprising? No, it's not surprising.
So $80 for this is on. I look. I'm the first one to try and find loopholes, justifications, defenses, and trying to rationally find a reason. There's no reason. I don't understand the reason. I cannot understand the reason. This is US, which means in Australia, this double pack is like $90, almost $100 for a
Yeah, but the point here is that there never was a reason, and we accepted it. A lot of people accepted it. So without reason, people are still buying it. That's why they continue to raise the price. So it's basically just cause and effect, and we're validating these behaviors from Nintendo.
re-release, because yes, Mario Galaxy has already been released once, and this is where it gets even more ludicrous with the prices, because this is... Let me show you something. So you might remember 5 years ago, Mario 3D All-Stars released for $60. It was a triple pack that contained Galaxy. It was a limited release for the 35th anniversary, which means Nintendo pulled it from the shelves so you couldn't buy it anymore. 3 games, $60. So you would think $20 a game, making Galaxy a $20 re-release at the time, you know, logically. And that made sense that that game was $20, right? Especially when you look at the fact that in 2011, Nintendo released a Nintendo Selects version of the game, which is a, you know, player's choice type situation. And that was a $20 re-release of the game back like a year after the game released. So even back on the Wii when this game came out.
So basically the whole point in like game key cards, in like downloading the game on the system, the fact that when you buy a game it has nothing on it, is really they're trying to stop things like piracy, obviously, but they're trying to stop ways people can buy it that's not directly from them, that's not their direct prices. So they're just trying to channel like everyone onto the same, you know, into the same place, so that they all pay the same price. I think that's basically the idea here.
Nintendo deemed it worth $20, which even accounting for inflation today is $28. So why in the piss is now all of a sudden Mario Galaxy more expensive than it's been since 2011?
Because they can. Because they've set themselves up to, basically. Why was it $20 before? Because they knew that people could probably purchase it for that much in other places anyway, and there are many ways to get the game from different sources. So like officially it wouldn't have sold on their platform, but today now they're pretty much stopping you from accessing the game unless it's from their server. So this way the price can always increase. Doesn't matter, they can just set the price. This is the only place you can get it, right?
There's nothing new added to it. This isn't like a Switch 2 version of the game. They have said, I think after the price was revealed, that the game will support 4K. But like, yeah, it should. Because you're re-releasing it in an era where your console does 4K. We already bought the console. We bought the console capable of 4K. Are you now charging us for the 4K?
Yes, they are. They are. The thing is that the red flags were there way before this stage, right? They already had stuff already that they announced Zelda, they announced Pokemon and all these things to be released on the Switch 2 with these enhancements. But it's kind of like saying that, you know, you had the game before on the Switch 1 and you have to pay for the 4K. It's not exactly the same as what he's saying, but kind of the same idea that what you have access to is behind a paywall, right? And so they're just going to keep finding different ways. They've already validated downloadable content on pretty much everything. So they're just like chopping things up and giving you price tags here and there for different things until it adds up.
Is that what's happening? Because that's all I can assume here. Is that you've released a console that can do 4K if you pay for it in the games that come out. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I don't want to repeat myself like Nintendo keeps doing with this game, but I feel like that point really needs to.
It's kind of sad because, like, it feels like people are kind of growling when they have already been caught in the trap. Like they're already sitting there with the Switch 2. Like, I understand those who bought the Switch 2 because they love gaming and they love Nintendo and they want to play new games that are released on it. But the red flags are just like really, really vibrant red. That people are deciding not to buy the Switch 2 or not sure. Not just because they can't afford it, because it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to buy a machine that you don't really own and to pay that much for it and all these really pointless things that's happening or that you have to pay for. And it's kind of divided the game community at the moment, because we are looking at people who have got the Switch 2 and people who are happy with the Switch 1 and people that don't want to come over to Switch 2. And it's like, it's not just about the prices here, it's about moral choices, moral decisions, and not being sure where this is going. And that's the biggest thing. People like this platform, Beatemups, should have used that on launch to really voice these opinions way before this point. And then, like, there maybe could have been a price drop around the release, just to kind of say, okay, Nintendo had a plan and then they got a bad reaction, so their launch is not going to do well. But channels like these kind of like just, kind of logs their whole experience of waiting outside GameStop and really promoting it, to be honest. So you're just basically validating all this stuff to happen now, today.
Hit home. We already paid $500 for a console that can do 4K. Why is there a luxury price tag on these games that have 4K? Especially with Mario Galaxy. We move into the new Amiibos. I was quite excited for this too. I mean, I sang the praises here of this being like a Lego Dimensions type Battle for Atlas, switching carts and races. I thought this was really neat. Give me a second here, because off to the side, I know it's going to be hard to see. I have a lot of Amiibos here. No, I just grabbed a few random ones, but I remember back in the day lining up at Target, and I know I'm going to get a little nostalgic on you here, but going out and picking up these Amiibos, they were like $15. $15 for a little...
And that's a really, really crazy like business plan there. They're always like giving us something we've already had in the past, but kind of polishing it, and that nostalgia has kept us all there, kept us all paying. They can like make a new Pokemon game, right, and give you like half the Pokemon and then make you pay for the rest. And the rest of them are all stuff that I've just kind of rehashed from old games. Competitively, you'd like to use them in your teams, but it's like an easy way to sell to people. And then, like, if you notice, every new generation, or in like Scarlet and Violet DLC, they just had to actually design like 4 new Pokemon, or 3 or 4 new Pokemon for every DLC, which is what, like 12 in total. I guess Paldea had a few more I'd say, but like they're not really like doing a lot of legwork. They're just really rehashing stuff, and now they're raising the price on that rehashing.
Detailed figure of an Amiibo. Sometimes you got a misprint, sometimes they weren't that detailed, but that just made them all the more rare. But they were like $15. When do we get to the point where they slowly crept up to 50? And I know that these Amiibos, they have this like intricate extra system that's going into it with a connector piece. But when we're up to $50 for what is essentially, when you look at it,
I think that the Switch 2 has established a new era, and it's kind of like made the Switch a luxury console. It's like going into Starbucks, right? And you're going to pay a certain amount for coffee, higher than most places. But then if you want a bottle of orange juice, for example, you're going to pay higher as well. And if you want a bagel or something like that, generally the price range in this store is going to be higher. So it's kind of like you've bought the Switch 2, and everything on that platform is going to be around that price, and that's where they've set it. They've made it a luxury machine now.
Little figure of Kirby on a star. We're at $50 for something that the equivalent of did cost $15 just, 8 years ago. I don't know how we got there. I don't know how we got there so quickly and it became so acceptable, because $50, I need to remind you. I don't know why I feel the need to remind you. $50 is just a few years ago what we were paying for full brand new video games, right? And to even get the use out of these figures, to even get what they're designed for, you also have to buy the game, which is going to be $70. So now you buy one of these figures and you're at $100.
The thing is, like, who are we reminding? Like, everyone knows already, but Nintendo are not really, like, there's nothing going wrong on their end. They're the ones making a profit. So the only people that are losing out on is us. But why do we need reminding? Because we can't change anything, right? Yeah, we're just basically accepting things that Nintendo is throwing at us, and it's just snowballing.
$120, but the whole point is to switch them, and you can't switch them unless you have two, so you're up to $170 now for Kirby Air Riders. Hope you really like Sakurai. I mean, I do, but $170? Not sure. And what this is doing is this and the thing we just talked about, and the more that we're going to get to, it is quite literally pricing people out of being able to enjoy.
Yeah, it really is the reason why people don't have a Switch 2. And, like, those who really can see the quality difference will pay for a higher price machine with reasonably priced games, even if they're just like slightly higher, just because the quality really speaks volumes about them. But we're really paying higher for pointless, silly stuff now. Like, really, you're paying a lot of money for stuff you don't feel is that value, and looks kind of cheap and put together. Games being sliced and put on DLC, little action figures, being thrown into the bundle of the game, peripherals and stuff like that being essential. Without it, you can't play the game. It's just getting ridiculous, which is why people are choosing not to buy Switch 2. And people see that road moving forward is not a clever one. And that's why I needed to change at launch. But it didn't go that way.
These experiences, which is why people are so upset, because they can't afford it. They're getting priced out. So, like, when people are upset in my videos and in my comment section saying, oh yeah, looks fun, wish I could afford it, I honestly do feel for you, because I get it. Like, people are getting priced out of this stuff. And with the amiibos, it's actual hardware, it's actual physical media. And there is this element that we are dealing with, and that's the tariff side of things.
And this is what's confusing the most, right? Obviously, like, as a gaming channel, right? You've gone out, you've bought everything, and then you feel bad for people who can't afford it. But what is this? Where is this complaining? Who is it complaining to? Like, this doesn't seem like a position to complain from, because you don't know which side of the fence you're on. Like, are you on the side which is complaining about the prices because you simply don't justify spending your money on it, and you're on that side of the fence where you haven't bought the Switch 2, or you're on that side where you have bought the Switch 2 and everything surrounding that, so you're obviously able to spend the money. So who like, why would you really feel bad for people? I don't understand this position here.
That is legitimately an issue. It's hard to know how it's affecting or how much it's affecting because companies aren't really being open with how tariffs are hitting them other than just they are. So I think we could expect these to be maybe...
No, it's got nothing to do with tariffs. Like, you know, like for tariffs, right, there'll be certain adjustments made. Not behavior changes, not patterns of behavior, not like stuff that are slowly becoming the norm. You don't have to slice your game in half and put it on DOC. That's not really adjusting to the tariffs, in my opinion.
40 at best in any other given circumstance, but that's still $80 for both, which is more than the price of a full video game, and it's still a lot of money. There's also the new Samus and her bike, which is priced at $40, and then some more amiibos that are priced at $30 really cool, each. The Galaxy amiibos are priced at $40 each. So the day of these $15 amiibos are definitely just gone, and the new price is way closer to $40, which again, it's just they don't, amiibos aren't utilized well enough for them to be worth that price. Yeah, they're cool little figures, but for $40,
yeah, they're just glorified models, and you can pay high price for like rare collectibles and models and stuff like that. Like these things can get really high price, but not when it's a peripheral for a video game. Like not when you're trying to use it to play your video game or interact with your game machine. It's different. It's not like a highly crafted model that's, you know, that is no, it's just a peripheral for a game.
$50, you could go to an anime store or a figure store and you could buy like a full like Todoroki. Moving on again to something else in this direct, the Virtual Boy that we...
Yeah, I mean, the models do look better though. I can say the models do look better. I guess people want more money for their craftsmanship. I don't know. I don't think that you should... if you want to like really detail the models like that and make them look beautiful and then pay that much for it, you shouldn't have them interact with the game. These should be different things, collectibles. Like they made the Rosalia's book, right? Storybook from Mario Galaxy. But you don't expect parents to buy these for kids to access certain things in the game with these massively detailed, overly expensive models. Like it doesn't make sense here.
Got so excited for, well, some of us, I think some of you just wondered why I was excited for.
Yeah, Virtual Boy is cool.
$100 for this Virtual Boy.
Yeah. It's like they're re-releasing
$100. I don't know who this that's a tough one. On one hand,
even like the original launch couldn't have been, well, I guess back then, yeah, it would have been new technology, so it would have been pretty high price, but there's no justification now. Is not competing with technology today. So it really is something that was scrapped, didn't do well, and they're reselling it for that price. There's just no reason. Who's gonna buy that? I guess only collectors, right?
With this one, I mean, it is a full console re-release, really. I mean,
yeah.
No, it's not.
Well, no, it's not. No.
It's not. I was going to try and justify it and be like, well, the Virtual Boy back in the day was like $200, which for inflation is $400 now. Yeah, but it's just a shell, isn't it? Because the actual hardware, the actual part that makes this work is the Switch 2 we already have. That's the guts that you're sliding into it. This is just a hard shell carry case. This is a glorified protective cover. And by the way, I'm pretty sure if you want to play these 14, count them, 14 Virtual Boy games, because that's all the library ever had, you have to buy this because it's 3D and you got...
It makes me laugh how you're kind of upgrading your super powerful Switch 2 to handle Virtual Boy. What? You have to pay for an upgrade on your Switch 2, the most powerful, you know, the most recent machine of this generation, to handle Virtual Boy or to play Virtual Boy. No, what's happening?
to stick your eyes up to it. I don't know how much the cardboard Labo version is. Cardboard Labo, $25 for the cardboard model. For the cardboard, you know what I love? That it says cardboard model. $25. And can we just cut out the model part and just read $25 for cardboard? I'm lost for words here a little bit. I gotta take a second. On the Switch Online service, which you already have to pay for the Switch Online service to access the 14 games, you can't play those 14 games unless you spend a minimum of another $25 for some cardboard or $100 for some plastic. It's nostalgic, and I do admit it's very cool. And for the collector in me side of things, like I feel like this is something that's going to go up in value. So if you look at it that way, if you pay the 100, you'll probably make your money back if you decide you want to turn around and sell it later. These things are always kind of hard to get and limited. So it's just another nostalgic price gouge.
Yeah, exactly. It's just for nostalgia. So how much are people willing to pay for nostalgia now? And you'll be surprised. Like, it may not be you personally, but some people, if you look at their bedroom and their basement and they have all these things Nintendo, they will pay a lot of money to get something that's like unique or rare or something like that. And this doesn't just apply to this generation. So I think Nintendo are quite aware of what's happening. And I think they've always done that. I think every company's always done that. But yeah, it's just hard to justify paying that price to upgrade your Switch 2 to play Virtual Boy. It just doesn't fit.
Feel like at the end of the day, I'm not as upset about this one because there is a level of cool factor where it's like, it's just kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, it's just kind of cool, but it is a lot. You're asking people for a lot. And then we move into this. All of the Switch 2 Edition game DLC that keeps happening. Now, there's a lot of conversation about all of these individual...
Yeah, like, when you look at this, where's all the Switch 2 titles? Even in, like, the Direct, I was really, like, excited about Virtua Fighter, because I used to play Virtua Fighter, like, competitively back in the day. Used to enter, like, world tournaments and stuff like that. But it's just a port. And these games are ports, and where's the Switch 2 titles? You know, it didn't make sense from the start, and it doesn't make sense now, but it kind of really was obvious how this would turn out based on how they, like, what emphasis they put in the beginning, what things they focused on to show us and present to us. It was easy to see.
DLCs. I've taken a look at pretty much all of them except Kirby, which I've been playing and I can tell you about today. It's a real hit or miss situation. So to begin with, at launch, we had the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom upgrades, which were $10 each, which at the time offered a mobile app integration, which I've tried using, and some of the features are cool, like transferring items and some voice notes, but for the most part, it's definitely not necessary. So the other...
I'm like, how is that not doable on Switch 1? Right? How is something like this not doable on Switch 1? So, yeah, it really is, they're trying everything to get people over to Switch 2 and using these little gimmicks and things like that, which can easily have been done on Switch 1. Yeah, it's just, it's really it's a pattern of behavior that they are developing. It's the way they are pushing things. That's the direction they're going.
The element to this is just getting the 4K enhancements in the Switch 2 edition, which at this point, I've really come to realize what I said earlier. We paid more money to get an improved console that can do 4K.
Yes, you did. You paid a lot of money. A lot of people paid a lot of money, and a lot of people, you know, there were so many videos out there telling people that this would happen. So many really simple, down-to-earth, clear, blunt videos, and like talking about how this is going to happen based on what's happening in the past and also what's happening right now. And I don't know how people are shocked at this stage. It's just crazy to me.
We put up with games in 560p and barely 30 frames for 8 years, and we finally were allowed the privilege of spending half $1,000 to upgrade our system just to turn around and be told that if you actually want an upgraded system for these older games, you need to pay more money. It's a tough pill to swallow, and it was for Zelda for a lot of people. And moving forward, we had games like Mario Jamboree getting DLC, which I made a whole video about.
And I'm honestly like, I feel really, really sorry for like families, moms that went out and bought this for their kids, people that are forking out money to, you know, they want the better quality, they want to follow where Nintendo's going, they want the updates, and it's just really sad to see.
That the DLC was just fine. It was very minuscule and lacked all online features, and at the end of the day, it's kind of a throwaway extra content. And on launch, that $20 Switch 2 Edition DLC didn't even bump the base game's visuals up to 4K. That was actually something they patch fixed recently because people complained. Kirby Star Cross World, I played a bit of recently. I did not really need to dive back into that game and do more levels, and I gotta be honest, the whole ice theme of it all, it was really just fluff. It was not, it was more levels. It was really just more of the same, but it gets somehow worse when Nintendo and Pokemon revealed DLC for a game that hasn't even been released yet.
Okay, so yeah, this is where this can still fit the theme of my channel as being about Pokemon, and for sure, like, the price tags recently are going to affect Pokemon moving forward, because actually Pokemon is maybe a bigger victim of this because it has so many Pokemon which you're not going to be able to access unless you download something or trade. So what do? You wait for what, like online DLCs and trading, and you know, a lot of people got their Pokemon to enter like competitions and tournaments. They had to get it from somewhere. So where are you going to get it from? You need to, a lot of people are like genning and things like that. You know, it's ridiculous. And if you were to get it all officially, you'd have to buy all the games, which would just cost you so much, and their DLCs as well.
Which really is just the cherry on top of the turd salad. You know? I don't know what's worse about this. The fact that it is what I said that it is, the fact that all they showed was a couple Mega Evolutions for Raichu, and that's the DLC, I guess. I'm not sure what's supposed to be in this expansion because that's all they showed in the trailer. And I mean, Mega Evolutions, yeah, that's the whole point of this game. All you've been showing for weeks and months now is new Mega Evolutions for Dragonite, Mega Evolutions of Victory Bell that looks like it's BDSM choking itself out. I don't know why, right?
I haven't actually put my reaction to any of the Megas, and I did think that Victory Bell looked kind of weird choking itself out. I know it's supposed to be like a rope around the bag, and I get that part, but on first glance, you can't help but notice that it's just choking itself out, basically. Yeah.
Raichu costs more money. I'm going to take on a little bit of a journey. I remember back, I think it was Gears of War Judgment. That game released a physical disc with DLC on the disc that was locked out, that you couldn't access for a couple months until after its release, where you could buy the DLC and unlock the content on the disc. And it was at that point, as a younger gamer, where I started to realize what companies were doing with DLC. They were taking portions of the game that were planned for the game, that were already in the game, that they plotted out from the start to be something that they can charge you more for later to get more money in the microtransactional form. And as the years went on, I didn't forget about that. I know that's what happens. I know that even this new Donkey Kong DLC that we're going to get to was definitely planned during launch. Like, the game only came out a couple months ago. There's no way they turned and developed that whole concept around in a month or two. But at least in that case, I can suspend my disbelief a little, because I can play the game, I can finish it, I can see that I got my money's worth, and then there's more DLC, and I can decide whether or not I want to pick it up and support the practice that they've employed. But when the game's not even out yet, and you're telling me that there's DLC, when the game's
Well, you know what's going to happen, right? What people are going to do is they're going to go out and buy it, and then that's okay, is accepted, and then Nintendo will keep doing it, or Game Freak, or whoever. So they're just basically putting out little tests here and there to see if we will take it, little baits, right? And then we kind of validate that kind of behavior, and then it'll become normal.
$70, and now all of a sudden I already know before I even have the game that I won't have all the content unless I spend $90 at some point. You add that into the mix of everything else that we're getting slammed with. It's like, come on. Even just optically, Nintendo, this was a terrible idea. Just an awful idea. Especially for so many reasons, but in a direct where we're all kind of looking to see something new from you, and the new thing we got was this. So here's my question.
And I tell you something, I'm normally very, very confused when I see these things. I see like Mega Raichu, right? X and Y. I'm like, wow, cool. They're revealing new Megas, but you kind of find out about how you get them later on. So you have all the time for the Direct to be really excited, and then like, oh, you have to get this on DLC, and then you have to get this one through online ranking mode or something like that. So they're all trapped behind paywalls after you're like wowed. And this is where it's getting confusing, and I can imagine for casual gamers and like, you know, moms and families, this will just be a freaking nightmare, man. What are Nintendo doing? Like, what is their market now? Who is it? They've targeted specific people who maybe cover games, who need to buy this stuff, who have the money, who can promote their products further. Like, who is this for?
Now, as I'm taking stock of this whole situation, when it comes to this DLC that Nintendo are doing, and the Switch 2 edition games specifically, how much should we be paying for this? Because I am realizing now, as I've said, that we paid for a 4K console. I don't think we should ever have had to have paid $10 to play Breath of the Wild, an 8-year-old game, in that 4K. So if Nintendo is saying games like Mario 1...
I think that games should have a standard price, like maybe 40, 50, if you really want to go pricey. And then the DLC should be free, and it shouldn't be so much in there. It should just be little things here and there, like new modes or whatever, and that should be free. Like, you shouldn't have to pay for half a game on the cartridge and then the other half on DLC. That should not be a thing.
A $20 upgrade because you get 4K and you get this extra content. Nintendo. We're not paying for 4K. You know, up until now, a lot of people like myself have been wondering why one of the newest games for Nintendo, Mario Wonder, hasn't been 4K. When Nintendo did go and give 4K support to like new Super Mario Bros. Deluxe that was on the Switch, it's because they knew they could charge for it. There are a lot of games day one that had 4K.
I think he's finally getting it. Yes, they can charge for it. So that is really what these practices are. They're business. They're obviously business strategies. Like, there's a department that makes the games, that has the passion for making games, that has the art direction and the game direction, the design of the product, and then you have the corporate side and the business side, and they're different.
Improvements for free, like Scarlet and Violet, because God forbid you charge for that. You can charge us to fix the broke. But there were a lot of games that didn't get 4K enhancements for free. Like, and I guess at this point it's because you can assume Nintendo have plans to charge you for those ones. Why though? Why those ones and not the other ones that were free? Because Mario Wonder is a big release and because people want to play it in 4K, so they can charge for that. But again, and I keep stressing it, you're charging us for something that your console was supposed to do. And if you don't buy it, guess what? You can't play the game in 4K on your new 4K console. so you're screwed. These frustrations aren't just because of what they are in themselves. You know, things I talked about, like Mario Galaxy being more expensive than ever, amiibos being more expensive than ever, it's all on top of other factors, like the fact that Mario Kart World was an $80 game for some reason, and Nintendo are doing variable pricing now. Games in themselves have all just gone up $10, if not $20 in price. So when you're adding all these extra fees and prices on re-releases and amiibos and DLC, it's all just adding on top of all.
Yeah, but you have to think about it. Like, where did Nintendo actually lose out? They're not losing anything. They're gaining. They're getting the profit they wanted. They're doing everything they want to do and getting back the profit. So what's going to change from here?
Already more expensive games. On top of all of that, outside the Switch 2, Nintendo raised their prices on everything else, from the original Switch to the accessories, and even like the Alamo went up $10. All of this is most likely due to tariffs and the hardware costing more to manufacture, which makes sense for something new like Alamo. I don't really understand how the original Switch hasn't come down in price in the last decade, when all of the hardware and pieces that go into making it you would think would get more affordable, but that is beside the point. I feel like it's crazy that Nintendo's...
Now you have to think, where's the incentive of them making things more affordable? Because we had a chance to really voice or like take action in not supporting the machine on launch, and now like that's just, it's too late, man. I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't know, unless they get like a really low sales or the sales begin to plummet, people are not buying the new products or something. I don't know. Like, what's their incentive? They don't have any. They didn't lose out. They're not losing out by doing these things.
Not reading the room that we're currently in an economical crisis, and they're just price gouging digital releases like Galaxy on top of it all. It's just not. It's really not what we need right now. Even just the wording of we're experimenting with variable pricing is just so open-ended and confusing. It's tough right now because there is so much coming from Nintendo that we want. And I think that's the issue, because if you look at just the video game prices themselves and not everything else we talked about, $70 games and even $80 games, believe it or not, are actually...
And morally, he's correct. Okay, he's got everything right morally. This should be like this, right? They should be more consumer friendly, or whatever the term is. They shouldn't be so anti-consumer. I think that the main thing is if they don't benefit in the long term, whether they're not retaining customers and retaining gamers over the long term. But if they are, then what's gonna change? Nothing's gonna change.
Becoming the competitive price point in the market. If you look at PlayStation and you look at Xbox, who did just reverse the decision to go to 80 back to 70, but that price range, it is competitive, right? In the current marketplace. The issue is Xbox and PlayStation don't make games. You know, we have to spend $70 on a PlayStation 5 game once a quarter. So for PlayStation fans or people even looking at that ecosystem, it's easier to justify buying something, especially when it's like Kojima has made this AAA blockbuster, visually impressive movie video game, and it's the only one we're gonna have to buy for our PlayStation for months. $70, I'll give it a shot. But Nintendo right now are on fire with their releases. There are games coming out every couple of weeks. There's new hardware coming out all the time, from a Virtual Boy to a new console. So when all of it is $70, $80, and all of it has $20 DLC, and all of it has amiibos that tie into it, and all of it is all of it.
And like Nintendo are providing us nowhere near the quality. Like, I've said, sorry, I said recently that they are providing quality, but what I mean is in certain areas, like they're in their game design, their innovative, creative ideas in some areas. But in terms of like when you compare it to something like Kojima Productions, Death Stranding, these kind of huge cinematic game projects, they're trying to be in the same league as competing with these, and they're not. They're giving us Switch 1 titles, and they're giving us like really like crappy, low effort DLCs for higher prices. They're giving us Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 releases for $70. Like, this is what they're doing. So yeah, this is where they're failing.
It's too much and we're overwhelmed. It's like a YouTuber who releases 5 videos a day and expects you to watch all of them. You know, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. And for people who have FOMO or don't want to miss out on their favorite franchises, it makes sense that they're frustrated. And then there's also the whole game key card issue, which makes buying these games feel even worse at $70 or $80 with all this digital DLC, because we're already not happy that we're not owning the game on a cartridge, that we don't have the game physically and that everything is digital. And you're adding to that we're having to pay more than ever for these digital games. It just really, there's so many
If you think about it though, that was like the whole setup. Make these games unable to be owned by the consumer, put them all on our server, and then we can control the price. We can tell them what they're going to buy and how much, and they're not going to get anything unless they pay for these paywalls. That's how they did it. They set themselves up to do that, basically.
Tough pills for consumers to have to swallow. While I understand Nintendo make quality content, they really do. Like, for the most part, everything they make, Drag X Drive aside, Nintendo makes really quality content. But then there's also Stardew Valley, which added mouse controls and Switch 2 upgrade support, and it's a free release. It's free. One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 was also in that direct. That's another game that's offering a free Switch 2 upgrade. High on Life just released a free Switch 2 upgrade with better resolutions and frame rates on the Switch 2. No Man's Sky did the same thing near launch. Why is it that all of these third-party and indie games and indie teams are able to offer better resolutions, better frame rates, better features, and more Switch 2 inclusion for free, but when Nintendo does it, it's $20? Oh, I know why. I could take a guess. I could take a little greedy guess. I know times are changing. I know that companies, end of the day, just want money. But Nintendo has always been the more affordable of the 3 companies between Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. And that's kind of why a lot of people liked.
Yeah, and like whoever's running Nintendo right now is taking all that nostalgia, all that reputation from the past and just making profit from it, rehashing it, giving it back to us. So it really is the what's the word? The direction, the control of Nintendo right now. It can sell us all the stuff that we love from back in the day back to us for even higher price.
Nintendo. And also, Nintendo, through the Wii U, they lost a lot of trust in their fan base, which they really built back with the Switch, with some great business practices, some fantastic video games, and affordable gaming. So to build back that trust and that love and that passion from a community, and then immediately turn around and charge not only more than ever, but more than what other companies are charging right now, it's whiplash. Ultimately, at the end of it all, You've heard it before, but vote with your wallet. If you can't afford it or you think it's too expensive, don't buy it. Complaining about it online.
And that's crazy to hear that as well. Like, this is nothing to do with, Beatemups channel, but he's basically saying what that guy Bowser, I think, the director, CEO, whatever, he's basically saying the same thing as him. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. Here's a Switch One, right? Is that really the solution here? So this is why the game industry has become divided. At least the Nintendo fan base has become divided. And since that set the mark for other companies to follow, then it will divide the game industry, because people will not buy it for many reasons, not just because of the price, because it doesn't make any sense anymore. It just doesn't.
Is a valid response, and it shifts the viewpoint on companies optically into the position where they might want to reverse their decision, like Xbox taking their decision to go up to 80 back to 70.
It's too late. We should have done this like on launch, man. I don't know. I guess there's always time, right? Like they launched their machine with success, but can it survive? That's really the main thing. I mean, look at what happened with Wii U, right? They had a terrible, they weren't successful, and then they redid things. So it can work, I guess.
They did it because people complained. I don't know if Nintendo will ever budge, so I don't know if there's a point advocating for any kind of boycott. Just be responsible with your money and don't buy things you can't afford. Hopefully that's enough to make a difference. I want to know your thoughts on everything I've talked about today, and if I've missed anything. With that said, I feel like I got a weight off my chest, and I'll see you in the next more positive video. I love you. I like you. Bye.
So yeah, he made a video which is on everyone's mind at the moment. So this is really a real topic. It's an ongoing topic, right? So yeah, it's valid that he has his own voice and opinion on it. But I mean, for example, all these platforms like Beatemups, right? Not just Beatemups, other ones, they're invited to go play Switch 2. They're invited to all these these presentations, these arenas where they can play new stuff to promote it on their channels, to be an influence to people. And so they don't actually realize that they're being used for this. They just feel like they're getting a great opportunity from Nintendo. But when this promoted and it's validated and it's okayed, then nothing is going to change. Because that would be the main focus. The main focus now is not the problems of the machine. It's, well, I mean, look at my Mario Kart World. Look at my stream, my online, my score, my reputation. It's all that. So it's kind of like just blanketed over the issues. So it probably won't change unless like enough people begin to realize and just don't pay any money for the machine anymore. But that's nothing new. There's enough people saying this already. There's enough videos that's out. There's enough people who haven't bought the machine. But that seems to me like the only way, because evidently, because just through this video you can see that the prices are just getting more ridiculous, and there'll be more ridiculous stuff in the future. So stay tuned for that. And thank you for watching this video. Share your comments. Let's discuss this together and let's grow the discussion. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.